Okay, so wait. Before you guys dislike this video into oblivion and rage at me in the comments, hear me out. Of course, I know what most of you are thinking when we're talking about a monthly subscription and Guild Wars 2. But if you think about it, a lot of the main gripes that we have with ArenaNet and how they manage their game could kind of be solved if ArenaNet had more money. Potentially, that is. Potentially. I've gauged multiple communities to see what their thoughts are on the subject matter, and I believe I've come up with a list of pretty good pros and some quite obvious cons of why Guild Wars 2 could benefit from a monthly subscription. I'm going to do my best to explain these in the most reasonable, logical fashion, and then I'll hold my opinion for the end. Would a monthly subscription for Guild Wars 2 be the best thing for the game? Let's find out. Okay, so let's go over the cons first before everyone explodes off into the comment section. The first one being, of course, the amount of money that you're spending to play a game that you already own. Now, given market prices of where other MMOs might actually be these days, we can pretty much put together that the price would be somewhere between like $10 to $15 per month, which if we kind of average that out, we could be looking at anywhere between $150 to $180 annually. Now, that kind of sounds like a lot up front if you were paying it all at once, but think of it like this. You could be also spending that money on gems for the gem store, you know, easily. $20 for a gem? Yeah, heck yeah, I might do that 2 times, 3 times a month. So there could be the argument that you're already spending extra money on the game. Now, granted, there's other reasons for that, but there is that argument there. But the main point of it is that now there is a financial, we'll say, paywall from allowing you to play this game that you've already purchased. And that, of course, leads into the second major con that I can think of. And that is now all of the hard work and time and effort that you've put into the game is held hostage. You're completely decked out legendary elementalist with full legendary gear, with every slot perfect where it needs to be. Yeah, you have to pay money to be able to play him, even after you've spent hours and hours playing the game. So yeah, that would make me upset. That would make me pissed off. Let's be serious. And of course, that kind of goes counterintuitive with where Guild Wars 2 whole thought of horizontal progression. It's kind of out of the window now because you're paying extra money to play a game where essentially gear doesn't necessarily matter once you've reached that point. What else are you striving for? Now we're just paying money for a game that we already have? That doesn't make sense. And it ruins actually the aesthetic of Guild Wars 2. Like, let's be serious. Guild Wars 2 is a casual MMO, and now we're adding this financial burden that's tied with it. To me, that's stressful. That brings stress out of me. So I could see that being a huge negative. And honestly, if this ever did come to fruition, it would completely ostracize the Guild Wars 2 community. It would create such a rift between developer and player that I don't know if that would be a great idea. And kind of building off of it, the third major con that I can think of course, is going to be the fact that now it changes the feel of the game. This game that has previously always been casual, it's always been fun to just kind of like log in and do what you want, have some weird fashion, you know? Now there's this increasing, we'll say, feeling, this dread of FOMO. If I'm paying money for this game, why the hell am I not playing? And let's be serious, for quite a few casual MMO enjoyers, Guild Wars 2 is that game where it's 2 in the morning, you hit up Guild Wars 2 saying, hey, you up? And it responds, yeah, baby, come raid this dungeon. I wrote that, and I don't know if I liked it. I don't think I liked it. It's cringy. Regardless, it takes away this casual enjoyment of the game to feeling pressured. You can no longer go and play another game that just came out that was a hot topic without feeling like you're missing out because of the financial burden that is tied to Guild Wars 2 now. It creates a really awkward rift, and I really don't think that would be the best idea. Okay, so before we get into the potential pros for this idea, and you guys raging down in the comments, make sure to give this video a like and potentially subscribe to Caffeinated Dad Gaming for... I don't even have a tagline anymore. It's like virtual high five? Maybe. Okay, so let's talk about the pros. Let's talk about the obvious one. For a monthly subscription for Guild Wars 2, the idea is that there would be more developers added to the team at ArenaNet, meaning that there would be a more steady stream of content, there would be new features, there would be all these great things that come with an increase of financial, we'll say, growth. This means that outdated content and outdated features could be upgraded and reworked and brought into new light. This means new expansions, new professions, new elite specializations, heck, new mounts, new in-game mechanics. I mean, the sky's kind of the limit. This has a really good chance at bolstering the game that we all very much love. And I should also add that Guild Wars 2 and ArenaNet have been really open with their players and valuing their feedback back and forth. That even for a small development team that they have, they've done a pretty decent job. Now, imagine if they were able to expand on that. That would mean a better defined roadmap. Instead of a bunch of ambiguous ideas out there in the ether, we could actually have a detailed list of what's coming. Specifically, an elementalist buff right out the gate. That, of course, also kind of leads me into my next point, which is a better job marketing. Fixing the biggest weakness of ArenaNet and the damn game is putting the game out there, talking about all these great features that the game has, and actually promoting their stuff. Listen, I've been a part of Guild Wars 2 for so many years now, and I think I've seen like 2 commercials, maybe 3. Like, they really could do a hell of a lot better job if they had a budget for a marketing team. And think of it like this. The game has more adverts. The game is reaching out, showing off their great features, pulling in more new players to enjoy the game, which leads into more subscriptions and then feeds the system forward. Now they have more money for more content, more money for more advertising, ideally. This could be a great potential growth for the game. Lastly, and probably the most interesting, is that having a financial backing could potentially lead to the future of the game and the franchise. And that could potentially mean Guild Wars 3. Now, of course, there's quite a bit of controversy around that because, of course, we say in Guild Wars 3, which means updating the aging graphics settings that we have for the game, updating the story, a whole bunch of other changes that they have. That could be ideal. But if we look at other games, so for example, like old school RuneScape, which has been around forever, and it is still a gem for what it is, and people still very much enjoy it. Now, of course, that comes with the counterpoint, and I do have to highlight it, is that if you went ahead and announced Guild Wars 3 and you started talking about it, there would be very little incentive for players to sit there and enjoy Guild Wars 2 anymore. Why play this game that I know it has a timeline that it's gonna die? Essentially, they would shoot themselves in the foot. But I've also put some thought into this, and I actually very much like the way that Overwatch went from Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2, where they upgraded a whole bunch of different features for the game, but essentially carried over everything from the original. That, I feel like, if they had a larger budget and was more plausible, they could potentially do something very much like that. And again, how could you transfer all that without completely undercutting all the hard work and effort that players put in? Completely transferring one-to-one over. I could see maybe specific titles, we'll say minis, we'll say legendary skins, things like that, the things that are really important that you worked hard on. That could carry over and have some play into the new game. Aside from that, a monthly subscription opens up the possibility of things like this, because you ideally have more finances behind the game. It could potentially grow into something new. And of course, I will say as a statement that is also saying that all of those pros that I just listed, that ArenaNet would take the money that they're making and pay it for those particular features. And again, it's not to say that I would expect them to do this, but you know, if they are charging a monthly subscription and they can keep players handy playing the game the way that it is without adding any more features or kind of throttling the game, why spend all the time and effort to create a better game? Just for food for thought, and just so that I can be completely neutral in this. Okay, so here's my whole opinion in the matter. First, I will say that I do not think that it is a good idea for a mandatory subscription for the game that we already have. I don't think that that would be a good idea. I think it would actually be very damaging to the community. I think that it would be a horrible idea. It would be the death of the game. Essentially killing the trust that these players have put into the developers and this whole damn game. It's out the window. If as soon as you turn that on, that it's mandatory, that's the end of the game. I do, however, think that an optional monthly subscription would be more feasible, will be more palatable. And what do I mean by optional? So a monthly subscription that you can join in, that you can opt in, it's not mandatory for the game, that essentially you pay $10, $15 a month and you get exclusive rewards. You get exclusive skins, cosmetics, maybe a unique title, things of that sort that essentially show that you are putting forth a little bit extra money and you have reaped some type of in-game reward. But for the other people who don't want to pay any money for the game, they don't have to. You're not blocking their enjoyment of the game as is behind a paywall. If they choose not to pay, then they don't get the cosmetics and all that, but they can still do everything else that is a part of the game. I think that's a fair middle ground. And let's be serious, those players who are so fervent about the game anyway, who are putting in a lot of time and effort, are more likely than not spending more than $10 to $15 in the gem store alone per month. It would be really feasible to say that a premium subscription or a monthly subscription isn't that far out of the question, especially for those particular players. That way, ArenaNet is starting to get some extra money, which could help produce more content more frequently, and again, could help grow this game a little bit faster, a little bit more into something different. And I will say that I would be incredibly surprised if Guild Wars 2 ever even offered a monthly subscription. As long as it is not forced down our throat and we have the choice of what we are spending our money on, I think that they will be perfectly fine if they offered a monthly subscription, optionally, not mandatory. What do you think on the matter? Tell me down in the comments below. Speaking of money, if you want to see the most important things that you can buy from the gem store, click this video here. Stay caffeinated, folks.